What is the first identity in Limbus Company? You might say that there's no such thing, as a lot of different identities released with the game. But what if I told you that there is a Limbus Company identity that is older than the game itself? That's right, I'm talking about Blade Lineage Yong. This guy appeared on the Limbus Company website long before the game was released, making him the first identity in the game. So, what does this have to do with Poise teams? Well, everything. Blade Lineage Yong was the first Poise identity ever made, and, admittedly, he was really weak. But times have changed, and so has the state of Poise teams. So, strap in, because we're going to dive into Limbus Company's oldest archetype, the Poise team. Much like my Charge team video, we're going to look at the best Poise team I can come up with, go over the identities, both combat and support, and then the egos I recommend in the team, and then we'll look at some variants that I find to be acceptable. After that, I will put the team on my team tier list, so stick around to find just how much damage this Poise swordsman can do. Starting off, this will be the team. And while you marvel at my team building genius, I want to quickly address something. This is pure Poise. We're not doing blows, and this team is not built to abuse Mirror Dungeon ego gifts. That being said, it still performs very well in that part of the game. Let's go over the combat identities now. It's primarily Blade Lineage, so we'll start with them. Mentor Meral is easily the most important person on the team. His first and second skills possess great clash power, and his third is your hidden trump card, that allows you to deal crazy amounts of damage if used at the right moment. But the real reason why he's so important is his capability as a support. Blade Lineage Meral is specifically engineered to buff other Blade Lineage identities. He gives two unique buffs to Blade Lineage identities on the team: Sword of Homeland and Swordplay of the Homeland. And while the buffs sound very similar, they are different effects. Both buffs increase the power of Meral's allies greatly, making it important to run Blade Lineage identities with him. Circling back to his third skill, Yield My Flash allows you to forego outclashing enemy attacks, instead opting to lose the clash and hit back from far more damage. Meral can't be staggered while the skill is in effect, and his passive protects him from dying as well. These two abilities make Yield My Flash extremely forgiving, and with how much damage this skill does, with its unique counter mechanic, you're going to love using it. Next up we have the Mentor Meral's right-hand woman, Blade Lineage Faust. Her unique mechanic is Red Plum Blossom. This debuff is considered to be a bleed variant, but what interests us is that Red Plum Blossom increases both the crit chance and crit damage against the inflicted enemy, making Faust another powerful damage support on this team. But as usual with the event identities, Faust isn't just a support. While being buffed by Meral, her damage output is nothing to scoff at. Between the 3 coins on her first skill, additional damage and power on her second, and the Poise count transfer on top of even more damage buffs on her skill 3, Blade Lineage Faust can seriously injure any enemy that's in her way, as long as you can keep her at high Poise. Continuing with the trend of the strongest Blade Lineage identities, we have Dawn with her 2-star Blade Lineage Soulso identity. Don't let her low rarity fool you, however, as Dawn is once again both a powerful support and a potent damage dealer. As long as you can keep a 2-skill Pride Resonance chain every turn, Dawn gives 1 Poise to the ally with the least Poise whenever she gains Poise potency with her skills. This passive, as well as the on-crit effects of her second and third skills, make Dawn a great Poise generator for her teammates, helping other characters never fall behind. She also has a powerful third skill that deals great damage with its last coin, especially while Dawn is under the effects of Swordplay of the Homeland. Now the last Blade Lineage identity in the combat lineup of this team, good old Blade Lineage Yong. If you're a newer player, you might expect him to have walls of text for abilities and the support damage dealer hybrid playstyle, like the other 3 Blade Lineage identities, but you would be disappointed to find out that all he does is clash. But even if that's his only job, he does it well. By gaining coin power for every Poise on himself, up to a max of 3, Yong ensures that his skills always keep up with the power of the enemy. Funnily enough, due to how the effect of Swordplay of the Homeland works, Yong's skill 1 is stronger in clashes than his skill 2, as it gets up to 20 power with both of Meral's buffs, and also has access to the long pride chains that this team creates to increase his offense level and thus clash power even further. While playing through Refraction Railway 4 with my level 40 Blade Lineage Yisang, he would often roll 21 with his first skill, even though level 40 is supposed to be underpowered for this event. This is partially because all of Yisang's skills have the highest possible offense level modifiers, ensuring he will never lose any clashes. Next, we have the first deviation from the full Blade Lineage team, Chief Butler Roshu. This identity specializes in not only poise, but also power scaling with speed. Her special mechanic is BM, or Butler's Mark, and this effect's only purpose is to activate her passive and make her third skill stronger. By clashing against targets with BM, Roshu gains haste, which she then turns into clash power with her skills. Roshu doesn't get buffs from Assault, but she still benefits from the effects of Dawn and Frost. With her speed power effects, she more than makes up for lacking swordplay of the homeland, however, so she's still incredibly powerful. Her third skill is especially notable, as if you kill an enemy with its second coin, you get to reuse the skill against a random enemy with BM. And considering her being a Poise ID and having a powerful damage up effect on the skill's second coin, the value you can get from one sync is incredible. Her second skill is also more powerful than it might seem, as it consumes Poise count to gain weight. This allows you to deal a lot of damage and stack a lot of Poise. Losing 6 count might seem expensive, but Dawn does a great job of keeping Roshu at a decent Poise count, meaning you don't have to worry about losing Roshu's crit chance. Last but not least, I've chosen a Hebmael for this team. This 6th slot can go to anyone, really, as the other two Blade Lineage identities are pretty weak, so this choice can be debated. I personally prefer Picot Captain Ishmael, as she helps with resonance very well and can give some great buffs to the team. Her second skill allows an ally to use an additional skill 1 but by activating assist attack. While normally this ability isn't that useful, as most skill 1s are weak, but in pure Poise all the other identities can get a lot of value by just using their first skill to crit for high damage. On top of this, the ally also gains damage up and pride power up if the chain is long enough. Ishmael's third skill is powerful as well, as whenever she staggers an enemy with it, her allies heal SP and gain lots of Poise. This makes it important to feed Ishmael kills and staggers whenever possible, that is if you don't have a Roshu skill 3 available for quick damage. And that's all the combat identities. Now for the support bench. Honglu is running his base identity. Initially I wanted to give this spot to Diechi, but I realized that this team has exactly one Gloom skill, so a lot of time has to pass for Diechi's passive to activate. Base Honglu's passive is easier to activate and still provides some SP support. Heathcliff's best option is his Aror identity. If you look through his support passives, you'll find that the rest of them simply don't have any effect. You can't activate any of them except for Sun Shower, Arcop and Picot. Sun Shower is actually terrible, and Picot targets Meral on this team, giving him a pierce damage up. The problem lies in the fact that Meral doesn't have any pierce skills, so you're left with Arcor. Rodion is set to base form, as there's enough Wrath on this team to proc it early, granting the team a consistent damage up for the rest of the encounter. Sinclair gets to choose between Los Mariakis and Blade Lineage, and while the effect of Mariakis might seem better, remember that this team produces almost no gloom, so outside of really long encounters or mirror dungeons, I recommend Blade Lineage. Otis also has a Blade Lineage identity, but for the purpose of support, I recommend Stink Association. Due to Roshu stacking haste and inflicting bind, the passive ability of Otis is likely to be in effect every time you make the necessary resonance chain. By the way, Blade Lineage Otis might seem powerful, but over the course of an encounter, the average damage increase is around 7.5% for one ally, which I find to be negligible, especially with how much more one clash power can do early in an encounter. Rounding off the support squad, we have Twin Hook Gregor. His passive increases the value of feeding kills to Ishmael, as now she not only buffs her allies, but also herself, every time she kills someone. With the identities figured out, I want to highlight some egos for this team. Meral gets to run Regret for its passive ability. Losing one base power for 2 coin power is always a buff, but with Mersal's first and second skill having more than one coin, the effect is even more powerful. Chains of Others can also be used without interrupting a Pride chain whenever you need to debuff an enemy. Blind Obsession can be used after gaining some gloom to give the team buffs, but you can't use it too often due to its resource cost. That being said, this is as far as Eagles go for this team. If you have looked at the right side of the screen, you've seen that the Sin Affinity generation is dominated by Pride. With extremely limited Lust and Gloom generation and absolutely no Gluttony, your charge of Egos get cut down drastically. Still, with how powerful the Identities are, you don't need the Ego skills as much as some other teams do. The deploy order of the team goes as follows. Meral is first, as his skills give the most value, then Faust for more Gloom and her unique effect, then Dawn in third for Poise support. Number 4 is Ishmael, for her skill effects, and then we have Yisang and Rershu in 5 and 6 respectively. Before Poise gets put on the tier list, let's go over the variations of this team that I believe can reach decent results. First of all, Poise. You get this team by changing Heathcliff and Yisang to their Picot variants, and using Twin Hook Gregor in addition to Blade Lineage Faust and one of Dawn or Meral. The main reason for this team's existence are Mirror Dungeon gifts. This team can benefit from both Lucky Pouch and Bloody Mist, making it unstoppable in Mirror Dungeon runs. That being said, this team should stay in that one part of the game. The Pecod Identities are much worse than Blade Lineage at keeping a high amount of poise, and that means that Dawn is a better 6th slot than Meral here, as she can support non-Blade Lineage Identities with her poise. Without Meral, Faust starts struggling with poise as well. The entire team loses the incredible power and damage output granted by Meral, synergizing with Blade Lineage IDs, and trades it for Bleed. And while it's true that Bleed can deal a decent amount of damage, trading the clash power and damage that Poise is known for seems like an illogical decision outside of Mirror Dungeons. Among Poise enthusiasts, there is another angle of modification that is entirely opposite to Blois, a full Blade Lineage team. By swapping Ishmael and Rershu for Sinclair and Otis, you get 6 Blade Lineage Identities, all buffed by Mentor Meral. While it might seem like utilizing the buffs from Meral with all 5 of your identities would make a good team, I have to disagree. Sinclair has terrible skills outside of his third one, but it would be unwise to use him normally for just his skill 3. Otis is also far too weak, as even at up type 4, she doesn't get any coin power boosts on her 2nd and 3rd skills. Even though their skill power stops being awful when buffed by Meral, I believe that Maid Rershu and Captain Ishmael provide far better damage and support respectively. In fact, Blade Lineage Otis behaves structurally as a weaker version of Rershu, and should only be used if you don't have Chief Butler Rershu unlocked. So, what's the best way to use Poise teams? Well, luckily Poise is extremely easy to use, as it provides both damage and power pretty early into any encounter. So I would consider Poise to be generally good as a team in any scenario, performing especially well whenever an enemy is weak to Slash or Pride. Now, the tier list. Due to Poise being so easy to use and so rewarding in all parts of the game, I have to put it beside Charge in S tier. If it's better than Charge or not, it's up to you to decide. As a rule of thumb, Charge is better in longer encounters, while Poise comes online quicker, thus ending shorter encounters quicker than Charge. I know that a lot of you want to see Sinking get covered next, and as soon as I make an overview of Wild Hunt Heathcliff, I am making a video on that team. So, if you want to see a team featured after that, make sure to tell me in the comments down below. And while you're there, leave a like and subscribe. It helps a lot and takes you just 1 second. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.